Thank you for checking out the time tracking database by WaterWebWorks. It's free to use as a template for your own application. This tool is provided as is, along with these videos with information on setup, maintenance, management, and the user experience. If you'd like assistance customizing it for your use, our rates are posted on our TeamDesk expert listing, and you can contact us there.
Okay, this is the management side of using this time tracking, and there's going to be a few things that you need to do for people. The dashboard is going to look the same, and you're going to pay people from pay sheets. Now, I highly recommend, and that's the way I designed it, and there are other ways to do it, of course. This is a starting database, but what I recommend is going to pay periods and closing the current pay period. Now what this does, I closed this one, I'm randomly closing one. What this does is prevents people from adding any more changes to the pay ticket or pay sheet once you start paying them. It would be embarrassing to approve one, give them a check, and then they say, hey, it's a different amount, and then you go and look, and yeah, it's a different amount because they've fiddled with it. They can no longer add things to the pay period once it's closed. Then you go in here and you pick somebody who hasn't approved it. I would recommend making a view that you go to that doesn't show the accepted ones. You go and look at the view. Now this view is one that hasn't been approved by the employee. So once the employee picks everything, they would say, I'm done. And my time right here looks good. I've really worked 0.01 hours, and they approve it. So when you come in, you're going to see these. If you see that it has to be approved by the employee, then you would turn around and tell them, hey, is this done? And jump on their butts and get them to do it for you. Then all you're going to do is verify this time here and go with it. And yeah, you could verify extra times for them. It's up to you to fix the security on that. This, as I said, is a starting point for you to make your own database. So once you've accepted it, it's done. You pay this with the check, however you want to do it. You could put in a formula that figures out the total amount of money or anything. Of course, I just went down to hours. There are different ways to do this. This is the way I put it together because this sheet is actually a proof of concept for one of our exceptional clients, and I wanted to see they wanted to do it in this direction, and so we did that. I've had other clients who actually just let employees verify their time, and then they just make reports off the time entries, which is valid. But there's a couple other things that you have to do. One of them is the pay periods. This has to be seated. You're going to have to come in here and occasionally and make pay periods. So one thing you can do is make a pay period every time you close a pay period and only keep one in there. That keeps people from picking future pay periods or picking older ones out of the picker. They can't do it. So if you only have one active pay period, it simplifies things. You just have to remember, or you can just make a whole bunch of them ahead of time, and you know, when they run out, you start making them more of them. But you can make a whole bunch in the future and then close them as you go. That's however you want to handle pay periods. And to make a pay period, just pick a start and stop date. That's all there is to it. I couldn't pre-program in pay periods because they're slightly different for slightly different people. Then finally, the most confusing and important thing is calendars. A calendar is actually, you could have called it your time off or PTO approval system. But once I got done programming it, it was a calendar. The important thing to know on here as a manager or is you have to have a day in here, a blank day for every day of the year. That's just the way it works. The buttons have to have something to work on. So if you want to take partial PTO for Monday, you need to click on it, and then it gets the Monday from right here. Uh, you could say, well, the person could have entered it in. Yes, they could have, but they would get it wrong all the time. This makes it easier, and it also makes it easier because then you can pick multiple days and pick vacation for multiple days, and it gets the day from each way. If you're doing the setup side, it makes more sense from the setup side, but it works exceptionally well. But what you have to do is go in here to the blank dates view and make sure that there is one and only one in here for every day of the year. When you've run out of days of the year, you need to start adding more. You could change this view, and I would, to not show days in the past, so you could just show days in the future. The way I got the data in here was on the setup side. I just imported the days right out of a spreadsheet. I'm not going to cover importing. That's a basic function, and my idea here is not to teach you how to use every single feature of TeamDesk. We have a whole series of tutorials, and we will probably cover that sort of thing in one of the other tutorials someday in the future. So that's the way you do it. You can add the days by this way, one at a time, and when you do that, you simply put in the date. Don't fill anything else out. Just pick the date, and you want it to only be in here more than once. So if there's doubles, then do it. You might be able to add some logic to warn you if you've added doubles. You could think of a couple ways offhand to do it, but this is a starter database, so it is up to you. There's some little homework to do. Make your view so it prevents you from adding double dates or double blank dates. So, and those blank dates are they're just there so these other calendars will work and look correctly, especially having the full calendar and such. Without it, they're just not going to work right. So those are what you have to do on the management side, and then we're going to go into setup, and I'll discuss how I set some of this stuff up and give you some tips there so you can actually edit it for your own use.